Okay, we've got it. We're to the topic of the lecture because now we're going to look at the important dates that are fair game for you in this class to give you a context of the history of life on Earth. And hopefully, all that previous content that we talked about in this lecture, all of that answers the how do you know? How do we know this? It is a combination of all those things that we talked about first. All right. So you remember, because we already mentioned it, we're going to start at the beginning of life on Earth. We're going to start at the beginning of the universe. And we've already done it, right? And that is 13.8 billion years ago, the universe formed. Now, I'm starting at the bottom and I'm going to list the items moving upwards. So by the time we get to the present is going to be at the top. This is going to model. Did I show you that picture already of the stratigraphy? I had to record that clip like 50 times, so I actually can't even remember. Did I do that or not? I hope so. I hope I showed you the picture of the mountain with the rock, layers of rocks. That's what we're sort of modeling here by starting at the bottom with the formation of the universe. And I want to be really clear that, dude, put this information into your external brain, but it is fair game. You will be tested on these dates. The other thing that I think is really important, we already talked about those home kids in the International Stratigraphy Club or whatever that group was called. Those guys review dates all the time and they're adjusting dates. And this right here, what I'm going to throw out is rough and based on what I have found at this time. So there is constantly new information that's coming out, new data to support different relationships, older fossils that get found, discovered, whatever. This is what we know right now. And I'm going to argue that this is what I know right now. There are people who are deep in the study of these things that are publishing new ideas all the time and new insights and tweaks. So the act of memorizing these dates, that's why I'm kind of like, don't memorize it, just put it in your external brain so you have access to it. So you have a general sense, but know that the specific, like we're not talking down to the specific detail because it's possible, likely that things are going to shift as we learn more, which is the beautiful thing about science, right? Okay, next up. Oops, wrong way. Wrong way, Witty Riggs. Don't make the universe disappear. Instead, 4.6 billion years ago, the Earth forms. Now that means somewhere like 5 billion years ago, we got the sun because the sun came before the Earth, the solar system, all the planets around the sun. Oh my gosh, thinking about gravity, thinking about how planets form, how suns form, like the life cycle of a sun. This is all astronomy. Go take an astronomy class because that stuff is fascinating. I'm going the wrong way. I got to go. Whatever. You don't care why I'm going the wrong way. 3.7 billion years ago, we have evidence of the first cell, the first prokaryotic cell. And in the end of the last lecture, I referenced that there was a last universal common ancestor, LUCA, LUCA. That first prokaryote is LUCA. And we will talk about LUCA in just a tiny, like whatever. LUCA was a prokaryote. That's about as detailed as we are going to get with details about the origin of life. Oh my gosh, we're not even going to talk about the origin of life. But magic, it's not magic. They have hypotheses and they have ideas for how this came about and evidence that supports those various ideas. But again, just beyond the scope of this class. The first prokaryotes, this is interesting to me. They arrived, but they were eating molecules around them. They were not generating their own food. And photosynthesis, we've talked about photosynthesis at length. You understand the process of photosynthesis. That was a game-changing thing to suddenly have cells that were able to photosynthesize. And that happened 3.2 billion years ago. This is a long time ago, folks. 1 billion years later, we had some amazing processes that we'll talk about in the next lecture that gave rise to the first eukaryote. I think we've talked about it already. Endosymbiosis, where a prokaryote phagocytized another prokaryote and created mitochondria and chloroplasts. That is how we got our first eukaryote, and we'll talk about that process in a little more detail in the next lecture when we deal with single-celled critters. We now have eukaryotes, and there is evidence that 800 million years ago we got the first fungi. That's interesting to me. Our first animals arrived 660 million years ago. Our first vertebrate arrived 518 million years ago. Think about that. Our first animal, no vertebrates, no backbones until 518 million years ago. And then 370 million years ago, we got our first amphibian. Look at this timeline. Look at the story that is emerging from this timeline. Reptiles next. Mammals next. Flowering plants. I'm looking at this list going, where did the first plants come in? You might think, well, they have to be associated with photosynthesis and the first eukaryote, but I feel like we need plants in there because I think plants came before fungi. I would like to add plants to our list. Flowering plants are different than other plants. Now, this list, you might look at this list and be like, oh my God, I have no context for this. You're right, you don't. And we are going to be talking about all these different critters when we get to biodiversity, which is the rest of this class we will be spending on this. Primates. So not just all mammals arrived 225 million years ago. 60 million years ago, we got our first primates. 25 million years ago, we got our first apes. Guess what we are? We're apes, just in case that was not clear. And 2.5 million years ago, homonyms, which are related to us. And then 195,000 years ago, Homo sapiens arrived. Okay, these are the ones that you are going to be aware of. I'm going to make you a cladogram to map out. You've got the times, and now let's map this into evolutionary relationships. And this giant cladogram that we're going to build is the thing that we're going to hang out with for the rest of the semester. Okay, bye.